channel is called Cruising Wild West. We are a family of five. We purchased a boat back a year ago. We started the process over a year ago, I guess almost 2 years ago. And it's been a long process, and I have learned a lot along the way that you could utilize as we move through some of these question and answer sessions. Today I'm going to start off with buying a boat in 2002. It's definitely slowing down. I think the market is definitely seeing a slowdown. You're definitely seeing price drops. When we were looking for the boat back in 2021, I mean, we were at the height of everybody was in COVID lockdown. Everybody wanted to buy a boat. The whole world was following Zatara, and including me and our family, and we all wanted to buy a sailboat and sail the world and get away from the narrative. That's changed. A lot has changed since then. One of the things that we struggled with was, to broker or not to broker, I think is one of the biggest questions that a lot of channels go through and ask and answer. And I'm going to go through 10 things today. One is broker or not to broker, prices versus 2 years ago. We're going to go through locating a boat, like what area, expenses and purchasing of a boat, what goes into that, contract and options, how you navigate that, negotiation and the deal, who do you use that through, the broker, again, back to not using a broker. Where do you plan on mooring the boat? These are really a lot of sections, so we're going to cover a lot today. Upkeep and maintenance of the boat. Do you know how? Do you have the finances to do it? Living aboard, and then, type of boat that you're going to be living aboard, whether it's with a family, a dog, just the two of you, etc. So let's start off with to broker or not to broker. We started off out of the gate not knowing anything about anything, which is probably why you're watching this video to begin with, or not. Maybe you know some, and I'll hopefully answer a few questions. So we somehow had the fortune of finding a guy by the name of Steve Varrow. Fantastic guy. I can't say enough about Steve. He's with, I believe, Virgin Island Yacht Brokers. It's his own company now. And Steve was instrumental in us moving through the narration of how to buy a boat. And we ended up buying a boat actually without Steve, which our next boat we will buy with you, Steve. Steve had gone to Europe for a little while, and we just kind of had some circumstances where we had to finish up on our own. Anyway, my advice to you is this. One, it depends on how much money you have available. If you're under $200,000, most brokers, and I hate to say this, but they will tell you this, do not want to deal with people who are under $200,000. So you're going to go on Yacht World and you're going to search through a ton of listings. You're going to scour the internet looking for that perfect boat, whether it's a catamaran, a yacht, or a sailboat, or whatever boat that you're looking at. And you're going to see the same listing over and over with different people, different companies that are representing that boat. And the reality is one person is typically representing that boat, but you've got a whole bunch of different brokers that are selling that boat under kind of like phantom listings, which can be very daunting because you have to figure out who the heck has the original listing. Once you figure that out, you have to figure out who you started talking to. So if you started talking to the first ad that you found the listing and it was a phantom listing that they had listed on their website, but the listing broker is actually somewhere else, then you're going to be paying the two brokers the fee, right? Hypothetically is how this all works. And depending on how much you're spending, there's typically not enough to split for the two brokers to ever really be happy with a under $200,000 deal. That's the hard reality right there. And they will tell you as much. They may not say that now because maybe things have slowed down, and I know that they've slowed down, but the reality is figure out who has the original listing and either work with those people or find a good reputable broker that you know that you can deal with, that will work with the other broker to broker the deal. That's like an entire topic right out of the gate. So let's talk about prices from 2 years ago, a year ago. The last 2 years have been the highest prices that boats have seen on the market, I think, in the last, I don't know how many, 20 years. I mean, it's been exponentially through the roof. COVID really pushed the pricing up through the roof. And then you had a couple of dips where they weren't making enough boats. So there wasn't a whole lot of inventory in a particular production cycle where there was enough inventory on the market to even sell a lot of boats. So not only did you have a combination of people wanting to get out and sail the world and basically break out of quarantine to go live their lives, but you also had not enough boats in the inventory to fit the bill for everybody so that everybody could buy a boat. So prices typically go up, just like real estate. So let's talk about the location of the boat and where you're going to be looking for the boat. Typically, most people are searching for boats in Florida. That's one of the predominant spaces that everybody is looking for a boat. And for good reason. There's a lot of boats down here. Don't be afraid to look outside. If you have a good broker, they can do all of the due diligence to walk the boat, do a FaceTime with you on the boat, and get you acclimated to who the seller is and what options you can do to viably bring the boat over. It is going to cost you, if you're bringing it over from the British Virgin Islands, you're probably looking in the neighborhood of $4,000 to $6,000 on top of the boat price to get it to Florida. Period. That's rough guess, but that's pretty general. So next on the list is, let's talk about the expenses of purchasing a boat, whether it's a catamaran, a motor yacht, a sailboat. A lot of it is going to be much of the same. You're going to have to do a haul out. You're going to have to get insurance. You're going to have to figure out if you have a boating resume. You're going to have to figure out how old the sail is on a boat, because like Geico, I think after 20 some odd years may not take you anymore. You'll have to look into that. But there's a lot of different logistics that you're going to have to think about before you buy the boat. First of all, can you get insurance? Do you have a boater's resume? If you don't have a boater's resume, you need to put one together. It's going to be very important. Unless you've got different coverage with a good and you have a good relationship with a company, they are going to ask you typically for a boating resume, and you're going to need to put one together, whether that's just riding around on a jet ski, driving a ski boat. I mean, put everything down that you have ever done that has been related to a boat, put it in a PDF file, and be prepared, because when you go to get insurance, they are going to ask you for a boat resume. Okay, so let's just say you've got your boating resume, you've got a good broker, you found the boat, now you want to get that boat under contract. And at this particular juncture, prices are definitely decreasing. There's no doubt about it. You're seeing it across the board. I watch the marketplace like a hawk, and we are seeing price decreases. We also are in hurricane season, so that's typical and indicative of that particular time of year. You do see lower prices. However, I think as the economy starts to compress and people are feeling strained, they are going to let go of some of their assets, and a lot of boats are going to start freeing up, and you're going to see price decreases coming down the pike. Getting it under contract, make sure that you're negotiating it with your broker. Talk to your insurance agent. You're going to typically need the VIN number. You're going to need the engine numbers, make and model of the boat. Get that to the insurance company to make sure you can afford insurance and get insurance on the boat, because there's no point in going under contract with a boat that you can't get insured. You're going to be in deep dog doo. You're going to own a boat that you'll have no insurance on. And if you go to a marina, they won't let you in here without insurance. So you're going to be hard pressed to even get a slip without insurance. So do your due diligence. Okay, so some of the things that you're going to have to do are, you're going to have to pull the boat out and you're going to have to get a survey. That's just typical, unless you're just completely rogue and you're cash heavy and you just want to pay 200 grand or 150,000 for a boat and not have anybody look at it. It's a horribly bad idea. I would completely advise against it. You're going to want to utilize somebody who is local, who is certified in, whether it's a sailboat, a catamaran, or a yacht. There are different certifications, and you're going to want to find somebody who knows what they're doing to get on the boat, pay the fee, and it may just be a loss. You may end up looking at a boat and paying $1,500 to $2,500 to look at the boat and have the boat hauled out. A typical haul out is probably going to cost $500. You can just put that straight in your budget right out of the gate, depending on the size of the boat and the yard that is going to be pulling it out for you. But you're looking at least 15 to 2,000, maybe 2,500, just to get the boat out and surveyed. And you may not like what you hear, and you may be eating $3,000 ish. So be prepared for that. Next thing to remember is, just because you pulled the boat out and you did a survey and you got the survey, you can use these as negotiation pieces to lower the price or get a better price. Obviously, there are things that are going to have to be fixed, or just be smart enough to walk away. It's a boat. It's going to cost you a crud load of money to maintain, put together, take it out, get it fixed. So be smart. Don't be in love with every boat that you see, because there's a ton of boats, and falling in love with the immediate boat is going to come and go like wildfire. Okay, so now let's talk about a place to moor the boat. Unless you plan on just hightailing it out of here and traveling the world, you're going to need to get some experience. If you don't have any catamaran experience, you're going to need to get some catamaran experience. Typically, if you go to an insurance company and say, I have X amount, they will limit the size of boat that you can buy. I'm not kidding. It's true. You can only buy up to a certain amount and a certain age back with your boating credentials. So be prepared for that. If you're buying a motor yacht, you're going to have an easier time. It's a different animal. You're going to pay typically more for a catamaran. It's harder to find a space for a catamaran. As much as I love catamarans, they are more expensive. You can almost double the price of everything you do with a catamaran. That's a fact. You're going to have to deal with the sail drives. You're going to have to deal with sails. You're going to have to deal with the rigging lines. There's a lot to deal with a catamaran. It's the same as a motor yacht. It's the same as a sailboat, but you are going to be paying more, and it is more difficult to get a space for a catamaran. So be prepared for that. Let's talk about upkeep and maintenance of the boat. So we moved from a 3,300 square foot home, and we are living in a 50-foot motor yacht. It's a Jefferson 1990 Riviana, and it's a beautiful boat. And all 5 of us live in this boat with our little dog. And the reality is, if you are not equipped as a mechanic to fix anything, this is going to be a very long, difficult marriage for you, relationship with the boat. You are going to have a heck of a darn time, and it's going to be very expensive to maintain, because you will be working on this boat all day, every day. And that is not an exaggeration. That is the real deal. Whether you're cleaning out the air conditioning lines here in Florida, cleaning the filters, putting bromine in your supply strainers to keep the toilets clean, literally all day long. Then you've got the upkeep of bottom maintenance, having somebody dive and clean the barnacles off the bottom. In the summer months, you're going to be paying probably somebody to come do that twice a month, which is going to double all the way till September, because the barnacles and the water get so warm and it grows even faster. So if you can't work on a boat is probably not for you. I hate to say it, but it involves a lot of work, and you better be prepared to have some tools, some knowledge, and you better be ready to tackle things that you've not tackled before. Okay, so let's talk about living aboard and what you're going to need. Typically, you're going to need a stove, a washer and dryer, a microwave. You're going to need a refrigerator, and ideally a water maker and a generator in case the power goes out. Those are some basic things that you're going to need to have. You don't need to have the water maker if you're living on dock, because typically they supply that. They supply the power. That's all included in your rent. It is very difficult in Florida right now to get a spot in a marina. Be aware of that. if you don't take anything away from this video, it's extremely hard to find a spot in Florida to moor your boat. A catamaran, a motor yacht, or a sailboat, all of them. Most of them have a waiting list to get in. So if you have an area that you want to be, I suggest you get on a waiting list way early in advance so that when that time comes, you have a place. Because if you don't, you're going to be out on a mooring ball, and it's going to be very difficult living on a mooring ball. So those are just some of the basic things to think about when you're buying a motor yacht, a catamaran, a sailboat. Those are going to be questions that are going to come up. Get insurance. Make sure you have your boating resume. Do you have a place to put it? Can you work on the boat? Do you have all of the necessary conveniences that you're going to want on the boat? Shop the boats. Don't pick the first boat that you see. There's always a lot of boats, and deal making with people is a nightmare. I highly suggest you find a qualified broker. I will leave Steve and his information below. You're welcome to pick anybody you want.